The US dollar has long been seen as the most stable and powerful currency in the world. It's a global reserve currency, the foundation of international trade, and the financial lifeline of developing nations. But under the surface, something is changing, something that could break the dollar's dominance faster than anyone expects. What most people don't realize is that the strength of the dollar is not based on gold, oil, or even the economy itself. It's based on trust. Trust in the U.S. government to repay its debt. Trust in the Federal Reserve to manage inflation. Trust in the global system to keep using dollars in international trade. And once that trust begins to erode, the collapse isn't gradual. It's sudden. It's violent.
And it's already starting to happen.
In the last 2 years, over a dozen countries have made public moves to reduce their dependency on the dollar. China and Russia are settling energy trades in their own currencies. India is using rupees to pay for Russian oil. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are developing a new reserve asset designed to bypass the dollar entirely. And even longtime U.S. allies are questioning whether it's wise to rely on a currency backed by over $36 trillion in national debt.
Why now? Because the dollar isn't just a currency, it's a weapon.
When the U.S. government sanctioned Russia by cutting them off from the SWIFT banking system, it sent a message to every other country on Earth. Your access to global finance depends on political obedience. That move may have worked in the short term, but it triggered something deeper, a desire to build a new system where no single nation has that kind of control.
The dollar's dominance was never guaranteed.
It's a product of post-World War II agreements, cemented by oil deals and military power. But in a digital world where value can move in seconds and blockchain-based systems allow peer-to-peer settlements across borders, that foundation is eroding. Central banks around the world are stockpiling gold at a pace not seen since the 1960s. They're exploring digital currencies that don't rely on the U.S.
clearing system. And they're reducing their holdings of U.S. treasuries.
In fact, China has quietly cut its treasury holdings to the lowest level in over a decade. And they're not alone. Meanwhile, at home, inflation remains sticky. Interest payments on U.S. debt are exploding. The Federal Reserve is boxed in, raise rates and risk a banking collapse, or pause rates and let inflation rage. This is not a picture of strength.
It's a signal that the foundation is cracking.
If the dollar breaks, it won't start with headlines. It will start with settlement. The moment large countries decide they no longer need to use dollars for trade, the global demand for dollars collapses. And when demand collapses, the value drops. Foreign-held dollars flood back into the U.S., triggering a tidal wave of inflation that can't be stopped. At that point, the Fed will be powerless. Interest rate hikes won't fix it. Yield curve controls won't contain it. And stimulus checks won't calm the panic. This is the kind of shift that resets economies and rewrites financial hierarchies overnight.
So what replaces the dollar? It won't be a single currency.
It will be a system, decentralized, digital, and interoperable. We're already seeing the signs. The rise of stablecoins like USDC and USDT. The infrastructure being built on Ripple's XRP ledger, Stellar's network, and central bank digital currency platforms across Asia and the Middle East. These aren't theories.
They're live systems being tested at scale.
Visa and MasterCard are running blockchain pilots. JP Morgan has created its own private blockchain for interbank settlement.
And governments from Singapore to Saudi Arabia are exploring cross-border digital payment systems that don't rely on the dollar at all.
When you connect all the dots, the message is clear. The world is building a new financial internet, one that moves faster, costs less, and doesn't require U.S. approval.
The moment that system reaches critical mass, the dollar's supremacy ends. You won't get a warning.
You'll just wake up one morning to headlines that say the BRICS currency is live, that a major oil deal has been settled in digital yuan, that the IMF has launched a new global reserve asset on blockchain rails.
And at that point, the shift is irreversible.
Most Americans won't be prepared. They'll still be thinking in terms of the last recession, still waiting for a recovery that never comes, still holding cash and bonds that no longer preserve value. And that's where the wealth transfer happens. Because while the average person loses purchasing power, the informed investor reallocates. They move into assets with fixed supply, into protocols that are becoming the infrastructure of the new system, into opportunities that benefit from transition, not stability. Right now, we're in the calm before the break. The markets are distracted. The media is focused on politics. But beneath the surface, sovereigns are repositioning. Institutions are building new rails.
And the financial map of the world is being redrawn in real time. The good news is you're still early.
That window is closing. And once it shuts, people who are inside the new system will never look back.
This is not about fear. It's about awareness.
It's about timing. And it's about being smart enough to act before the rest of the world catches on.
Because the dollar doesn't have to slowly fade. It can snap. All it takes is one trigger,
One deal, one announcement,
and everything changes overnight. So the question isn't whether the dollar will break. The question is whether you'll be positioned when it does.
If you want to stay ahead of this historic shift and build wealth while others panic, subscribe now. This is your signal, and this is just the beginning. This is also why billion-dollar asset managers are no longer dismissing crypto infrastructure. They're investing in it. BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, has filed for a Bitcoin ETF. Fidelity is expanding its digital custody services. Goldman Sachs is building crypto trading desks. These aren't retail investors chasing trends. These are institutional giants preparing for a systemic shift. And while most of the public still thinks of crypto as a risky bet or a speculative bubble, the real transformation is happening at the protocol level. XRP isn't just a coin, it's a liquidity solution. Stellar isn't just a token, it's a cross-border value layer. These platforms are solving problems that the legacy system can't touch, and they're doing it at scale, in real time, with compliance-ready infrastructure that regulators are slowly beginning to accept.
It's also why central banks are racing to issue their own digital currencies.
Not because they want innovation, but because they fear irrelevance. A digital dollar, a digital euro, and a digital yuan are not upgrades. They're survival tactics. They're attempts to maintain control in a system that is rapidly decentralizing. But no matter how polished the rollout, central bank digital currencies are still centralized. They may have programmable features and faster settlement, but they lack the neutrality and global accessibility of true decentralized networks. And as more people wake up to that fact, adoption of public blockchain infrastructure will accelerate even faster. Here's the part that most people miss. Shifts like this don't reward followers. They reward those who pay attention early, who study systems, not just signals, who understand that money is not just a tool, it's a map of power. And when that map gets redrawn, everything else changes.
This is your chance to study that map before the rest of the world even knows it's being rewritten.
If you want to stay ahead of this transition and build wealth while the rest of the world reacts, subscribe now. This is Wealth Signal, and your signal is only getting stronger.